Hey guys, welcome to my corner of the internet. Today we're going to be talking about reserve life because everybody just seems to be very curious about reserve life. This has been my experience with my company for the past, year and a few months that I've been flying. And I've helped my company film a video about reserve life, so this one should be a little bit more detailed because I won't feel like I'm answering questions and having to speed up and talk really fast. So I'm gonna hope that this video isn't very long. I'm gonna hope that the video is not very long, or Elizabeth's editing skills better be fucking bomb, is all I'm saying. So what is reserve life? It just means that you bid a line, and on the days that you're good, which means the days that the company can call you for trips, they can call you 24 hours a day, anytime. It doesn't matter if you're sleeping, you gotta get to the airport within the 3 hours that they call you out on. The crew desk is normally really nice, and they try to call you before that 3-hour mark. And when they do, you're just like, thank you. And then sometimes they'll call you 2 hours. And with our company, we're not allowed to tell the crew desk no. So if they give us a 2-hour call out, we say, I will try my best. And if you get there, you get there. If you don't, you don't. Right, so let's talk about reserve lines. My reserve line that I normally bid is 6 days on, 2 days off, 6 days on, 2 days off, 6 days on, and 6 days off or something. It's something similar to that. I'm really good at trading, so I just bid whatever line because I don't have enough seniority to get what I want. And I just go in and I trade days, and I'm really good about trading days, so I normally get the schedule that I want, and I've been really lucky. I got Christmas off and stuff like that. So what it means to be good is that those are the days that you're good to be flying. So again, those 6 days that you're good, and then the 2 days that you're off. So in those 6 days, you can get a trip, you can get airport standby, or your ready reserve. So airport standby is when you log into your thing, it'll tell you standby from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then in those 4 hours, you go and you hang out at the airport. I go to the crew room and hang out, watch TV, or I do my CQ that I have to do. And within those 4 hours, they can call you for a trip. Well, they'll throw you on a trip if the trip falls apart, or they'll call you to pre-board. And pre-boarding just means you go to the gate, you do the hard part basically, you board the flight, and when the actual crew that's supposed to work that trip will get on the plane and you'll get off. And then there's sometimes the crew desk will tell you, go pre-board this flight with a possible go. I've pre-boarded so many flights and it's never a go. Most of the time the crew that does pre-board wants to go because we've already done the hard part. Boarding is the most stressful part of our jobs, and the best part is we don't get paid for it. So there's that. And then, or you'll get a trip, which the trip will show up on your line. I'll tell you if it's 3-day, 2-day, 4-day. And then everyone's favorite, ready reserve. Ready reserve is so hard. And I only say ready reserve is hard because you're on call for 24 hours for that day. And because I bid for 6 days on, if I'm on ready reserve, I could be on ready reserve for 3 or 4 days where I'm just waiting around, hanging out, doing whatever it is that I need to do, and I'm waiting for a phone call. My Boston trip was probably the hardest one because it was a red eye, and I was on ready reserve for 4 days, and I wasn't ready to do a red eye. But stuff like that happens, so be prepared for that. Be prepared to get on random red eyes, get random phone calls for late flights and stuff like that. So that's just kind of how the reserve schedule works. How do I deal with reserve life? At first, when my first probably 2 weeks of being on reserve, I wasn't getting trips, I wasn't getting standby. No, the first week I got a trip. There was this big mishap with how our company couldn't get the us new hires in, so right at midnight my whole class got a call, and at midnight, and then we all got thrown on trips. Getting a trip is nice because then you can plan your sleep, because sleep is important, and stuff like that. Standby is nice because you know you're gonna you know what time you're gonna be at the airport, and you know if you get a trip, crew scheduling cannot call you for another trip. If you are on standby, they cannot call you for another trip either, or call you in for something else. Like, you already got your standby, you already got your trip, like that's on your line. So we screenshot everything, and we get our trips at 7:30. So I log in at 7:30, see what's on my line, and I screenshot it. Again, when I would be on ready reserve, when I first started flying, was probably the hardest. I literally sat around all day waiting for the crew desk to call me, and I'm like, dude, I'm wasting my days just sitting at home. And I probably sat around for like a week or two, and I'm like, F this. And I would go run errands, go see my friends if they were off, and I would just have my rollerboard in my car, and I would just leave. So that's what I recommend for you guys. If you're on ready reserve, just have your rollerboard and your stuff in your car. If you pack food, then take your food too, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really good about carrying food. When I fly, I am on a liquid diet, which probably isn't the best thing, but when I do... Okay, wait, hold on. It's not a good thing, but the way I see it as, it's better to put something in my body than to just like starve all day, because I don't like to eat airplane food. I don't eat airplane food, and you get sick of eating all the airport fast food, and then you get tired, and then like by the time you get to your layover, you don't want to order Uber Eats, and you're just exhausted. Like, you're just like, oh my god, I'm just done with the day, I just want to take a shower and go to sleep. So I carry protein shakes, like canned tuna that's like in a package, and I carry nuts. That's really it. I used to carry food like in a big lunchbox and like freeze it, and then it'd slowly thaw out, and I put ice on it and all these things, and it got too much. Like, it was too big of a hassle. And being on reserve, you're like, okay, well, when you're on standby, you don't know how much food to carry, and most people carry like 3 days worth of food, and then it's like you have 3 days worth of food, but you're on a 2-day or a 1-day, then what are you gonna do with the rest of the food? Like, yeah, I can't be bothered with that. So I just carry protein shakes, and again, I think it's better than just starving myself. It is what it is. Another question I get, do I get pretty cool trips on reserve? I've been really lucky, and I've gotten some really cool trips on reserve. I mean, for being based in Denver, I mean, our flying's just, it's not fun. I mean, I guess it depends on what you would consider fun and cool. Like, I don't like being on airplanes longer than 4 or 5 hours. Like the transcon flights, I really struggle on those. The flights to the islands, I really struggle on those. I'm not meant to be on an aircraft that long, and I'm different like that, because some people are like, oh no, I'd rather do those long hauls to Shanghai or to London and stuff like that, and for me, I'd rather not. A lot of my classmates went to Newark, so they get awesome flying. Like, they're doing all the international flights. I prefer not to do international anyway, because of the time change and stuff like that. It ages you. And maybe it just sounds vain, but I don't need my job to age me in that way. And I'm really content with doing like the quick hops around like the domestic flights that we do. And it's really cool to kind of see the country that I live in, because it's not like I've been to every state. I haven't. One of my favorite trips was going to Nebraska. Like, it was so quiet and just, I don't know, I didn't expect Nebraska to be like that, and it was. And I fell in love with Canada. I never thought that Canada would be the way Canada was. So, yeah, that's something to consider, is how long can you be stuck on a plane. So that should help you kind of decide on what base you're going to go to. I already knew I didn't want to do international. Being on reserve, you can get thrown on like international flights anyway. Like, if San Francisco's short on flight attendants, they'll send some flight attendants from Denver, sit in San Francisco, lay over in San Francisco, and then do the international flight out to like Korea or China or whatever. So there's things like that you can remember. What are the senior mamas and papas like? It's funny because like when you're in training, you hear about like how senior our industry is, and nobody ever really quits and stuff like that. And I can see why, because our job is, it's great and stuff like that. So it's funny because a lot of the trainers kind of, I don't think they did it on purpose, but they would like scare us, like, oh yeah, you don't mess with senior mamas, like senior mamas are like this, that, and like they instill this fear in your heart, and you're just like, oh my god, I don't want to fly with these senior people. My base is very senior, not as senior as a couple bases, because at my base you're going to be on reserve for at least 5 years, with possibly a move up line at 4 years. But I've been lucky. All the senior people that I've flown with, they've been really, really nice, and you can learn so much. So don't get on this flight thinking like, oh, I've been flying for a year, or I've been flying for 6 months, like I know how to do my job. Like, don't be that jerk. Don't be arrogant like that, because you can learn so much from them. And I pick their brains every time like we get a free minute. I'm like, I will ask them questions, and hey, do you think there's a more efficient way of doing this, or like, hey, what do you think about that? And I've learned so much from flying with senior people, but I also really like older people. I think there's a sense, like, society has just kind of forgotten that like old people matter, and people don't talk to older people about what life was like and questions like that. I don't know. Because I grew up so traditionally Korean, like one thing I wish I was able to like ask my grandparents is like, what was life like back in the day? But my grandparents aren't around, so I ask other people's grandparents apparently. Anyways, my point is, don't be intimidated by senior mamas and papas. They're so nice, and they're here to help you, and they have the best advice. And when they've been flying for 30 or 40 years, like, they know how to do their job. Alright, and the last question I'm going to ask is, what would commuting be like if you're on reserve? Dear Jesus, I have talked to so many flight attendants about commuting, and especially commuters that are on reserve, and I recommend either getting a crash pad or have a friend that you can stay with in whatever city that you're commuting into. Okay, so because I bid lines, because I like having that stretch of days off. If I was commuting, I would still continue to have this like line, because I wouldn't want to have like 3 days on, 3 days off, 3 days on, 3 days off, especially if I was commuting, because you would have to commute in, work for 3 days, and then come back again 3 days later. Like, I would have still bid for the line that I have. Here's the downside. You commute in to your city, you have no car, you probably don't have enough money to Uber, and then you're going to have to eat out the whole time that you're commuting in. So it's probably easier to get a crash pad or have a friend to stay with. A lot of the flight attendants on reserve right now that I've spoken to, they commute in with the crash pad. So they have somewhere to stay, or they're staying with a friend. But that's like for the newer reserves, because some of our bases go to reserve up to like 15 or 20 years. So it depends on where your pay is at, right? You don't want to pay two rents, basically. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Again, I don't commute. I don't think I'm ever going to commute. So yeah. Anyways, guys, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any other questions about reserve life that I didn't hit, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Don't forget to tap that subscribe button and that notification bell, because we upload every Mondays and Fridays. I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.